Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Red Rising, chapters 30, 31, 32, and 33. House Diana, The Fall of Mustang, Antonia, and Apologies. In these chapters, so many things happen, but the main thing, of course, is that Cassius has found out who killed his brother. And he has no understanding in his body. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Ashley for commissioning this episode. You guys, y'all know I was like, I don't think he's going to be understanding, but I didn't expect him to quite go this hard. I think that I just thought, because Darrow is in such a position of power at this point, that Cassius would fall in despite holding a grudge, because he realizes that he isn't in a great position anymore. But what it seems like has happened is that even though Cassius cannot be the praetor, he can recover most of his station within the group to be seen as, like, if not the right-hand guy, one of the top in the crew. And so he doesn't have that kind of need, to fall in line. I am so curious what happens, because, chapter 33 ends and Darrow's on the ground bleeding out. And I was expecting there to be like a med bot that comes and gets him, and it doesn't. So I'm not sure if it's just that they're like taking their time about it, if he's going to be found and helped, if it's going to turn out to be like a bad wound but not deadly. I don't know. But this just went left so quickly and abruptly. And, well, we'll get to that. So let's back up here. Let's start. Chapter 30, a month passes. So in terms of the timing here and the way that everybody is discussing this stage in their experiment, it seems like people have accepted that we're going to be in this situation for quite some time. And I don't know if, because, guys, I was talking about how I was seeing it as a sort of like semester long thing. I am starting to think that maybe it just goes until one house wins and then it ends, that there isn't actually like a given time period. It'll just continue on until somebody is able to completely take control. If that's true, this could go on a long time. So who knows? But yeah. He is still in charge, and the house has gotten stronger, and they are, there's rules about not abusing slaves and stuff. 50 goats and sheep have been gathered in the castle in case of a siege. So too has firewood been stockpiled, but we have no water. The pumps to the washroom shut off after the first day, and we have no buckets to store water inside in case of a siege. I doubt it was an accident. And when he says I doubt that it was an accident, it could be taken as like him implying that one of the other houses sabotaged something, but I think it's just supposed to be the powers that be are pushing them, by cutting off their water supply. So they do all these things to try and like gather water. There isn't a really good way to store it, so they're having to create troughs and things. But really what it comes down to is they can't be in the position where somebody is laying siege to them, because they are not going to survive it. They don't have the supplies necessary. So they're going to have to be aggressive. And that's pretty much in their wheelhouse. So after seeing what happened to Titus, I ask Cassius to teach me the blade. I'm an unreasonably fast study. I learn with a straight. I never use my sling blade. It already is like part of my body, and the point is not to learn how to use the straight blade, which is much like the razor's, but to learn how it will be used against me. I also do not want Cassius to learn how to fight the curved blade. If he ever finds out about Julian, the curve is my only hope. Funny story. It's hopeless, bud. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Cassius curves you. So the whole thing with the Minervans, they are really after him. And it says, Mustang tried offering Antonia a mutual defense compact, 12 horses, 6 stun pikes, and 7 slaves in exchange for me. I don't know if she is lying when she tells me this. And they don't mention Severo. I know she's still afraid he'll cut her throat if she touches me. He follows me now wearing his wolf skin. Sometimes he walks. Sometimes he rides a small black mare. He does not like armor. Wolves approach him at random as though he were one of their own pack. They come to eat deer he kills because they've grown hungry as we lock away the goats and sheep. Pebble always leaves them food at the walls whenever we slaughter a beast. I killed their pack leader. He looks me up and down and flashes me an impish grin. Don't worry, I wouldn't fit in your skin. I've given Severo the dregs to command because I know they might be the only people he'll ever like. And gradually, the dregs begin to sort of fall into like a cult with him, where they're doing the whole wolf thing as well. It's an interesting thing, Severo, too. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but he is an outlier of the Golds as well. So we have like a meeting that we go to where they're deciding how they're going to handle things, because the jackal is being treated by everybody else as sort of like a joke. It's like almost like superstitious to think that he's a real thing. And the discussion, the way that this works, is really making it obvious that Darrow, despite being in charge, is only barely hanging on to this. He mentions at one point that his own people are muttering slurs about him when he walks past, you know? It's a sign of my fading leadership that I have to stand up. Quiet, I say, and finally they are. And when he says the jackal, Cassius starts laughing. Will you stop laughing at everything? I snap at Cassius. It's not a gory damn joke unless you think your brother died for amusement. That shuts him up. Yikes. So he says that it's going to be him and Goblin that go, which is what he calls Severo, which evidently is a reference to him not being attractive, which is rough. I always feel bad for anybody who like has such a distinctive look that they get a nickname based on simply how they look. I feel like that's always just, you got to try to find line there, you know? So him and Severo have a moment here where they're talking about the overall situation. And he says that it's a stupid game. And Darrow says, then why do you play it? And he's like, I didn't know what the fuck I was getting into with this. And Darrow's like, you seemed to know what the passage was. And he's like, I did not. And Darrow replies, well, you seem to have every skill required for this school. And Severo says, if your mom's in bed, is she a pink? Come on. So at this point, he finally says, I've never been liked. I wasn't born pretty and tall, like you and your butt boy Cassius. I had to fight for what I want. That doesn't make me likable, just makes me a nasty little goblin. You were picked because you were the smallest boy, the weakest looking, terrible scores, and so small. They drafted you, like they drafted all the other low drafts, because you'd be easy to kill in the passage. A sacrificial lamb for someone they had plans for. Big plans. You killed Priam, Severo. That's why they won't let you be Primus. Am I on target? You're on target. I killed him like I'd kill a pretty dog. Quick. Easy. And you killed Julian. Am I on target? We never speak of the passage again. I just want to take a second and really think about how hilarious this is. The fucking Golds have this institute that they have set up that explicitly is supposed to teach people how to be ruthless, how to become the monsters they need to keep everyone in line. And that is the alleged purpose. But when somebody who they didn't expect seems to be able to fucking pull that off, all of a sudden it's a fucking problem. They were like, well, we're going to have Priam. Obviously, we have plans for him. And they don't apparently have any sort of backup plan. They take it completely for granted that Priam is going to win against Severo. And if Priam doesn't, it's not like Severo gets flowers. You know, he isn't being treated as though you did the impossible and so you must be even more badass than we ever dreamed or expected. It's you ruined our plan, so we're punishing you for not dying, which is asinine. It's just so absurd, and it's so poorly planned, and it's so embarrassing. And honestly, it's really a great sort of metaphor for the way the system works, that they act like you're supposed to be able to do what you need to get ahead and that it's all merit based, but it's not. Certain people are supposed to succeed. And if you dare to succeed when you're not part of the designated group, you're going to be slapped down. And I just really fucking, this moment, the fact that he knows too, I was worried Severo was going to tell. And I was worried that was how Cassius found out. And it made no sense. I should have known that he wound up getting basically a tape of it. But for a minute I was like, did Severo get so pissed at Cassius that he decided to fuck things up? I don't know. So what follows here is Darrow sort of thinking about the fact that he and Severo are kind of kindred spirits with being on the outskirts of things. And that he almost bets Severo would like him better if he knew that he was actually a Red who had to work for everything and hadn't just, been born gorgeous. So they eventually, they're being followed and they know they're being followed. But the people following them really fancy themselves as fucking smart. So they're playing for time and sort of waiting until these people show themselves. And I love this. Hello, Mars, one says. Other voices echo it to my right. Stupid children should have saved their tricks for the night. It would be miserable in these woods in the dark. Voices coming from all around. I really enjoy that. Even as they're attempting to kind of fuck with him, he's like, oh God, there's so many better ways you could have done this, you guys. He just is so unimpressed. So he tells them, I'm here to meet with whoever is in charge, basically. And they take a long time, clearly trying to be like, well, we'll do it, but not because you said. And I love this. The fact that he brought Severo because he is so weak and silly looking. These two girls smirk at Severo and can't help but soften their eyes when they see me. because he has made himself look good. I really enjoy any time a male character uses their appearance on women, because it's just such a trope that men are absolute losers when it comes to beautiful women and do not know how to manage themselves. But it is so rare for a character who is male and attractive to be able to like utilize that, you know? And I just, especially of course with Darrow, because he was not born looking like this. So looking this way is very new to him. And that is what's sort of interesting about it, is he is not somebody who like grew up looking good and is used to the effect he has on women. It's so recent an acquisition of a weapon that it's being like aimed in a way that is very different to me. You know, I just find this really, really interesting. So there's this dude named Tactus who just keeps being like, oh, I'm going to skin them. I'm going to take their scalps, whatever. What a blowhard. He's really sounding like Titus, honestly, and is causing trouble. There's this person in charge named Tamara, and she's only like barely holding on to being in charge. It seems like she's having to really put her foot down with Tactus, and he does not want to listen to her. But she is of House Diana. And they talk about how this could work out, that they could team up. And Tamara is just like, I don't really see what it is you could do for me. The whole point of your house is that you don't win this game because you burn out, which is exactly what Darrow has suspected. And he says, but we can be useful. We may starve while you watch, but will you watch as a slave of some other house? Or will you watch from your strong fortress, your armies twice as large and ready to sweep up the ashes? I will personally promise that House Mars will brook no aggression toward House Diana so long as our agreement is not violated. If you help me take Minerva, I will help you take Ceres. Ceres is near? Very. And they have bread. I look at the pelts her men wear, which I imagine would be a nice change from all that meat. Her weight shifts on her toes, and I know I have her. Always negotiate with food, I make a note. Tamara clears her throat. So, you were saying I could make my army twice as large? So, then we go to chapter 31, The Fall of Mustang. Some of this I am going to speed through a little bit because there's a lot of like the fight. But what's happening mostly is that we're going to have a one-on-one, right? There is, surrounding the area where they're going to meet up, a field of really, really high grass. So high in some places that Severo could stand tall and still not be seen. We stand at the edge of the mud ring amidst a meadow of autumn wildflowers. The ground squishes underfoot and quietus whinnies beneath me. Pax! I then shout. I hurl the name against the walls until their main gate opens ponderously. Is it to be a duel? Mustang asks with a grin. Pax of wise and noble Minerva versus the reaper of the bloody butcher house? You make it sound so exciting, Antonia yawns. She's not got a spot of dirt on her. So, they go head to head. This whole thing with Pax, I mean, it's a real tough call at first. I was starting to be like, is he... I feel like he has to win because he's our main, and if he doesn't, Pax will kill him, I'm assuming. But Pax really gets some fucking solid ass hits in. I love the way this, you guys. Thunder and lightning, brother. Thunder and lightning. Pax is built like an obsidian. He's over 7 feet tall, easily, and he moves like a bloody damn panther. In this 37 grav, he could throw me 30 meters or more. I wonder how high he can jump. I jump to stretch my legs. Nearly 3 meters. I can easily clear his head. I'm sorry. What? He can just jump 9 feet into the air? That's insane. I keep forgetting that these golds are literally just built different. You know, oh my God, what? And that's not even like, that's him. That's Darrow, not Pax. Oh my God. So, I love this moment. Jump, little grasshopper, he grumbles. It'll be the last time you use your legs. What's that? I ask. I said it'll be the last time you use your legs. Odd, I murmur. He blinks at me and frowns. What's odd? You sound like a girl. Did something happen to your balls? Fucking Darrow. He really knows how to provoke people. Oh, Ashley says Mars gravity is less than 40% of Earth's. So it's just the grav. So when he says 0.37 grav, it's 0.37 of Earth's. It's in comparison. Okay, I wasn't getting that. Thank you, Ashley. So that's why he can jump so high. Ah, okay, a lot more makes sense. So, at this point, I love this. The Proctors come join from Olympus. And I love the fact that Darrow is sort of like, oh, you're going to just fucking watch? Great. But both him and Pax are kind of gratified at the fact that the Proctors are all here because obviously it's a little bit of a compliment that they think this show is going to be good enough that they're, you know, bothering to spend their time here. So they get going here. And the whole, like every trick, it's really down to the fact that Pax is a monster. Like he is so huge and strong, but Darrow is really, really fucking fast. So even though he doesn't have the exact strength, he is able to like come at him or get away adequately that it drags things out a little bit. I reach for a knife and try a familiar trick. He bats the flying blade away contemptuously with his shield, but when he lowers it to look at me, I'm in the air, landing on his shield with all my weight. The suddenness of it pulls the shield down just a hair. I slam mud into his helmet with my offhand. He's blind. One hand holds the axe. One holds the shield. Neither can wipe his visor clean. It'd be a simple matter if he could just do that, but he can't. I hit him 12 times on his wrist till he drops the axe. Then I take the monstrous thing and hit him on the helmet with it. The armor still doesn't break. He almost knocks me unconscious with his shield. I swing the heavy axe again, and finally Pax crumples. I fall to a knee, panting. Then I howl. They all howl. Howls fill the lands of Minerva from my far distant army. Howls from my 10 high draft killers who helped make this dueling circle. Howls from the killing field. Mustang hears the dread sound behind her and wheels her horse. Her face is one of terror. Howls from the laughing proctors, except Minerva, Apollo, and Jupiter. Howls from the bellies of the dead horses in the middle of the killing field. The ones near her open gate. They're in the mud, Mustang shouts. She's almost right, but she thinks like a gold. Someone screams as they see Severo and his howlers cutting their way out of the stitched-up bellies of the dead and bloated horses that litter the mud up to the gate. Like demons being born, they slither from swollen guts and parted stomachs. A half-score of House Diana's best soldiers exit with them. Tactus and his spiked hair burst from the belly of a pale mare. He runs with weed and thistle and clown. all within 50 meters of the ponderously slow gates. Honestly, that is tight as hell. I mean, come on. That is some maniac shit. That's crazy town banana pants. They're just like, let me hide inside this dead horse's stomach while you have a fight to the death. And then when you howl in victory, we're going to emerge like aliens out of the chest of our fucking... like, what? This is bananas. Oh my God. They cannot repel the sudden blitz of demon soldiers closing their slow gates. They hardly manage to knock and draw their bows before Severo, the Howlers, and our allies slip through the closing gate. On the other side of the city, the House Diana's soldiers will be slowly scaling the walls with the ropes they use to climb their silly trees. Yes, the whistle sounds now from the other side. A guard there has seen them. No one will come to help him. My army moves forward, even the fake howlers we borrowed from Diana and dressed up to look like Severo and his band. We destroy House Minerva in minutes. High above, the proctors still howl and laugh. I think they're drunk. It's over before Mustang can do anything except gallop away across the muddy field through the still smoldering grass. A dozen horses set off in pursuit, Vixis and Cassandra among them. She'll be caught before nightfall, and I've seen what Vixis does to prisoners and their ears, so I mount Quietus and set off in pursuit. So, eventually, he's following, and Vixis is talking about, like, oh, I'm going to break this mare and fit her for a bridle, and blah. I find Mustang by mistake. Two golden eyes peer out from a pit of mud. They meet mine. Vixis is with me. He swears something. He has less body fat than anyone I've ever seen. His tongue flits over his perfect teeth. I know he's goading me, so I lead him away from the mud pit. Io didn't deserve to die a slave, and despite her color, Mustang doesn't deserve any sort of bridle. So, he lets Mustang not, I appreciate that. Appreciate it. He showed a little mercy there. I passed this test. The interminable war with House Minerva is done, and I've also trapped House Diana. House Diana had 3 choices before the battle. They could have betrayed me to Minerva and taken my house as slaves, but I had Cassius send pickets to intercept any rider. They could have accepted my proposal. Or they could have gone to our castle and tried to take it. I couldn't care less if they chose that option. It was a trap. We left no water inside and could have besieged them easily. Now they have the Minervan fortress and we are outside in the plains. They could honor their agreement. We would get the standard, they would get the city and its inhabitants. But I know they'll become greedy, and they do. The gates close, and they think they've a strategic bastion. Good. That's why I have Severo inside with them. Smoke plumes soon rise. He destroys the food stores as they enslave the Minervans and guard the walls for my army. Then he fouls the wells with feces and hides with his howlers in the cellars. House Diana is not used to this sort of warfare. They have never really left their woods behind. It is hardly an effort to wait them out. 3 days in, and they are apparently still surprised we do not leave. Instead, we camp north and south of the city with our horses and light bonfires all around so they cannot slip away in the night. They are thirsty. Their leader Tamara does not deceive me. She is too embarrassed at being caught in her betrayal. I was laughing so hard at this point, you guys. There was something about they are apparently still surprised we do not leave that I found to be such a and I am like this myself, but like there is a certain kind of person who thinks that there's only one acceptable like ethical, respectable course of action. And when somebody just doesn't do that, is so startled that they don't know what to make of it. And I feel this way all the time, especially when it comes to like politics. You know, people will pull shit that's like legal. It's totally allowed, but you just don't do that because it's fucking shitty. And so I always find myself going, wait, they're doing what? And like startled by it. So I really felt called out a little bit in that moment. I love that eventually Tamara sends a message and, Leah is the one who brings it back and like imitates her. Have decency. Are you not a man of your word? Oh my God. When they try to break out the fifth night, we capture every last one of them except Tamara. She fell from her horse and was trampled to death in the mud. Her saddle was cut through underneath. Severo shows me the cleanly severed strips of leather. Tactus? Probably. His mother's a senator. Father's a praetor. Severo spits. Met him when we were children. Beat a girl half to death when she wouldn't kiss him on the cheek. Mad bastard. Let it slide, I say. We can't prove anything. Uh-oh. I don't like where that's going. And it's just really interesting because, you know, it was clear Tactus was a problem. But I wonder if Tactus was working on his own, because I would not be surprised if Tamara was like nominally in charge, but she had to fight every step of the way before all this happened. Once they take this place, but then it turns out they don't have any way to actually survive within its walls. If she lost most of the support of her people, and more than one person might have been willing to turn on her at that point, you know? So Cassius at this point congratulates Darrow because he's like, this will be the final bar that will make you praetor. And I'm really happy for you. To which Roke is like, what? Since when are you humble? This can't be you, Cassius. And Cassius tries to play it off like, it's fine. This is just school. Eventually we'll be out of here and we're going to need to live our actual lives. And then he gets really vulnerable and it's so awful. I may have lost a brother, but I feel like I've gained two more. And I mean that, lads. I gory well mean that. We'll have to do ourselves proud here. Beat more houses, win the whole damn thing. But my father will need officers for ships in his armada if you're interested. And they all have like a moment of course, we'll be together to the end. And I'm just like, ooh, boy, we'll see. So they get approached here by a girl named Lilith. And she has been put through some shit. She wants to speak with Cassius, not with Darrow, which is interesting. She has cheeks that are scarred and burned. And at one point when she reaches out, she's missing fingers and the stumps have been cauterized. Is really, really, is horrifying. Cassius Albellona, my master desires the Reaper. Alive, dead, we don't care. In return for him, you will receive 50 of these for your army. She tosses him 2 ion blades. So maybe that's what happens after Cassius cuts him down. Maybe the jackal comes and picks him up. That's interesting. I don't relish seeing what he does to Darrow. I don't know though. Maybe Cassius just was like, I'm going to take care of him. I'm not giving him to the jackal because I don't really. Why would I? You know. So she hands Cassius this thing, and as soon as he's handed it, it's a really, honestly, I kind of like the way this works because it's very much like a myth. She gives Cassius some mysterious object in a bag and is like, this might help you make your decision. Darrow is like, open it. What's in there? And Cassius just says, I'm not opening it. She's mad as a violet. I don't need her to infect us. And keeps the pouch. Despite acting like, I don't even care what's in it. He holds on to it. But later on, he says that he wouldn't have even opened it if it weren't for the fact that Severo was sent to steal it. And that signaled to him that the shit was actually maybe pretty important. And I wonder if he's telling the truth. I kind of feel like he is. I like the idea that in attempting to keep this information from him, Darrow screwed himself. There's just something really self-fulfilling about that, you know? I don't know. I liked it. We must prepare to meet the Jackal's army. That means consolidating my forces and eliminating lingering threats. I need the remainder of House Diana in the Great Woods destroyed, and I need House Sarah's. I send Cassius with the Howlers and a dozen horsemen to destroy the remainder of Diana. The rest of my army and slaves I take back to our castle to prepare for the Jackal. I've not yet devised a plan, but I'll be ready for him if he rears his head. So this is when he sends Severo to steal the bag. It says, Severo's eyes do not judge, not even now. There are times when I wonder what I did to earn such loyalty. Then others when I try not to press my luck by looking the gift horse in the mouth. LOL. That night, as Cassius lays siege to Diana in the Great Woods, the rest of my army feasts behind our tall highland walls in Mars Castle. And they're having a good old time. Tactus is giving him some looks like he's gonna try and fuck him over later, though. After my victory over Pax, my high draft seemed to have finally fully embraced my leadership, even Antonia. It reminds me of how I was treated on the streets after Mickey carved me. I am the gold here. I am the power. It's the first time I've felt this way since sentencing Titus to death. Soon Fitchner will come down and give me the Primus hand from the stone, and all will be well. So, eventually, let's see. I'm trying to find the spot. Here it is. I am Primus. I have 5 golden bars. In the morning, House Sarah's will fall. Fitchner will come down to bestow the honorifics. Roke comes to stand beside me as we watch the feast. I've been thinking of kissing Leah, he says suddenly to me. And this is a really nice moment where all of a sudden Darrow is reminded that, like, I'm out here concerned with life and death and alliances, but we're still a bunch of fucking teenagers who are just horny as hell. And that's sort of nice to be reminded of, you know? And I don't know, this was like a sweet moment. There is something, though. He says, I grin and slap Roke on the butt for luck. Uncle Narrell says it's tradition. I was like, I really hope it's not a red tradition. You know, like, I hope that it's not, you're giving yourself away by doing something golds do not do. You know, who knows? He gets woken up by Leah, who is yelling, Roke has fallen into a crevice. His legs are broken. I can't reach him. As soon as she says this, I'm like, well, that's full of shit. Like, there is no way. But it takes him a surprisingly long time to come to his senses and realize that this shit is not right. And like, he does realize before the trap is fully sprung. I'll give him that much credit. But he really should have seen this immediately. I understand maybe because Roke is so firmly on his side and Leah, like, allegedly, he thought that her and Roke were a thing, that he would assume it was in good faith. But, bro. So he stops following her. and falls to the back and like hides. And he can hear Antonia calling, "Reaper, fearless leader, there's no need to hide. We're not mad at you ordering us about like you're our king. We're not indignant enough to bury knives in your eyes. Not at all. Darling?" They call taunts playing on my vanity. I've never had much, but they can't understand that. So he hears Vixis and Cassandra. He hears Antonia. And she says, "If you don't come out, we're going to kill Leah." And I thought, how close to them is Leah? Is this, maybe Leah does care about Roke and they're holding him hostage? I don't know. But whatever the case is with how they got this all set up, they kill Leah. And it's really awful. They leave her body too. Excuse me, guys. My throat has been terrible today. I just have some water real quick. So I do not move until early morning when I'm sure they're gone. The medbots did not take Leah's body away. The proctors left it so I would know she died, so I could not hold on to hope that somehow she lived. I do not find Roke's body, so I do not know what has become of him. Is my friend dead? I feel a ghost as I pick my way along the highlands. So this is when he finds Cassius. "Brother, I brought you a gift." He hops off his horse and gives me a hug before pulling out one of Diana's tapestries and wrapping it around my shoulders. "You're pale as a ghost. What's the matter?" And so he explains. "She was a sweetheart. Do you think Roke is dead?" "I don't know," I say. "I just don't know." "Gory damn," Cassius shakes his head. "A proctor must have given Antonia night optics," Severo speculates. "Or the jackal bribed her. It fits." "Who cares about that?" Cassius cries, flinging out his arm. "Roke may be wounded or dead out there, man. Don't you register? We'll find him. We'll find our brother." Antonia never returned to our castle. Neither did her henchmen, Vixis and Cassandra. They failed to kill me and must have fled, but to where? So they get back. They search and search. They cannot find him. And we have a sort of back and forth here as Cassius and Severo begin to argue with each other. The main thing is that, because Severo says he's probably dead at the bottom of a ditch. "The jackal did this," I mutter. "Tough shit," he says. "Come again?" "Doesn't matter if he did it," is what Severo means. "We can't do anything against the jackal now. Even if he tried to take your life, we're not in a position to hurt him," Quinn declares. "Let's deal with our neighbors first." "Stupid," Severo mutters. "What a surprise. It looks like the goblin disagrees," Cassius snaps. "Speak up if you've got something in your craw, pygmy." "Don't talk down to me," Severo sneers. Cassius chuckles. "Don't piss on my foot because you only come to my knees." "I'm every bit your equal." "My equal? At what? Birth? Oh, wait, I meant height, looks, intelligence, money. Shall I stop?" Quinn kicks his chair hard with her foot. "What the hell is your problem?" she snaps at him. "Never mind, just shut the hell up." Severo looks at the ground. I have the sudden urge to put a hand on his shoulder. "What were you saying, Severo?" Quinn asks. "Nothing." "Come on." "He said nothing," Cassius chuckles. "Cassius." My voice alone shuts him up. "Severo, please." Severo sighs and looks up at me, cheeks flushed with anger. "Just thought we should not pick our butts here while the jackal does whatever he wants. Send me south and let me cause trouble." "Trouble?" Cassius asks. "What are you going to do, kill the jackal?" "Yes." Severo looks quietly at Cassius. "I'll put a dagger in his throat and then carve a hole till I see his spine." The tension is enough to make me uneasy. You can't be serious, Quinn says quietly. He's serious. Cassius' forehead creases. And he's wrong. We're not monsters. Not you and I, at least, Darrow. Bologna Praetors aren't knives in the night. We have 500 years of honor to guard. And Cassius then has a whole thing with Severo where he keeps trying to say, well, honor and chivalry and whatever, to which Severo is like, do you think that is how your father got to where he is? By fucking having honor and ethics? Get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. And I really wish that Darrow had Severo's back a little bit more in the midst of this. Cassius says it wouldn't be right to murder someone in cold blood, and Darrow says I agree with Cassius, but I really don't understand Darrow's point of view here. It seems like killing in cold blood is the point of all of this at to a degree. Taking people out strategically that are problems. And I don't fully get why he's drawing a line here. Is it just because he's suggesting doing it through stealth versus fighting packs in a one-on-one kind of thing? What difference does that make really in the end? I don't know. But yeah, Severo winds up just leaving at this point and says that he's going to keep searching for Roke, and that he would actually search ditches, which he's certain Cassius would never do because it would get him too dirty. So the next chapter, 33, Apologies. Cassius wakes me in the middle of the night. Severo found Roke, he says quietly. He's a mess. Come. I will be honest, I didn't see anything here. I didn't see this danger. I knew the first time that Darrow was woken and it was a trap, but didn't at all see this one coming. And obviously Darrow didn't either. I look over to Cassius. He has our 2 ion swords, and suddenly a pit opens in my stomach as I realize what's what. And I really like this because when Lilith comes over and gives him these 2 swords, I'm over here thinking oh, he's giving them really valuable weapons as a sort of offering of good faith. But no, it was, I'm giving you these 2 weapons because I know that once you know who killed your brother, you're going to want to have a fight like this. Just the nature of the completeness of this setup. It's almost agonizing how completely perfectly it works out. So yeah, let's see. It was no surprise. What's that? I've known for over a year that Julian was meant to die. He made a mess of his test. He was never the brightest, not in the way they wanted. He was kind and bright with emotions. He could sense sadness or anger a click away. But empathy is a low-color thing. Which, you guys. Honestly. There are feuds that do not change. Cats and dogs, ice and fire, Augustus and Bologna, my family and the arch-governors. But despite what it portended, Julian was excited. And he basically says we all tried to be hopeful on his behalf, even though a lot of us were sort of wondering how this could have happened. And it's illegal to turn down an invitation to the Institute, which is a real, I didn't know that, and finding out that is the way they force people into their own deaths is really particularly horrible. It's already bad enough to be like, oh, we're inviting you and tricking you into thinking that you have this amazing thing, you know, that like you've been accepted and a future is spreading out before you full of possibility. That's already really awful. But knowing that like once you're invited, that's it. You have to go. Adds this level to it. I mean, no wonder they have to keep the passage so secret too. How did you find out that you did Augustus's dirty work? I trusted you, so I did not need to see what the jackal sent me, but when Severo tried to steal it as I slept, I knew something was the matter. And he watched it. And at this point, Darrow is like, okay, let's take a look at this situation. The jackal has a hollow, which means his proctor gave it to him, which means the game is rigged. So the jackal is the archgovernor's son, and he's manipulating you into getting rid of me. Oh, okay. You're just going to do it. Well, good to know. And like, Cassius flinches. He clearly seems to know this is true and believe it. But it doesn't change what he would, like, is planning on doing. We can beat him together, Cassius. We needn't be divided because you killed my brother. There is no we, you feckless Quim. Get off your gory-damn horse. I didn't have a choice. I hope you know that. You will rot in hell, you manipulative son of a bitch. You allowed me to call you brother. So what would you have had me do? Should I have let Julian kill me in the passage? Would you? That freezes him. It's how you killed him. He's quiet for a moment. We come as princes, and this school is supposed to teach us to become beasts. But you came as a beast. And what were you when you ripped apart Titus? I was not like you, Cassius shouts. I let you kill him, Cassius, so the house wouldn't remember that a dozen boys took a good long piss on your face. So don't treat me as though I'm some sort of monster. You are, he sneers. Oh, shut your goddamn gob and let's just cut to it, hypocrite. I really enjoyed this conversation. This is the sort of thing that I feel like a lot of writers, weirdly to me, they don't know how to write a convincing confrontation. And so I will be like looking forward to a moment where two people sort of face off or something is revealed, you know, and there's a confrontation. And then they don't talk about things the way that I want them to. They don't reference things that I think are important or make connections. And I'm like, what? It almost can feel sometimes like the author doesn't want them to make good points because the author doesn't know how to write an opposing viewpoint that ignores someone making a good point. But the thing about these kinds of arguments is like both of them, a really, really well-written argument, you can kind of see the point of view of both people a lot of the time. And while Darrow is 100% correct in the fact that Cassius is a hypocrite, that he is letting himself be manipulated by an enemy and doesn't seem to care, that he had no choice, I can understand Cassius for, one, losing his brother, who he clearly really cared about, and then being completely played by this guy for months. I mean, that is a really shitty thing to find out. I can't imagine, you know? And I could see how any argument Darrow makes here is just irrelevant because of the way that he lied. And no, even if it is logical what he's saying, the deception is just a completely unforgivable thing. I understand both their points of view here. So they duel. And this moment, you guys, With a little flick of his wrist to move my sword sideways, he steps in and drives his ion blade through my armor into my belly. It should cauterize instantly and destroy the nerves, leaving me damaged though alive. But he has the ion charge off, so I only feel a horrible tightness as alien metal slides into my body and warmth gushes out. I really love the way that's written, because if you've ever had something, and I mean something as simple as like you're getting dental work done and they inject your gums to numb you, the feeling of something in your body is wrong. Like, it's not supposed to be there. The word alien is exactly right. And yet, a lot of the time, depending on how it's done, there's no pain. It's just the feeling of wrongness. And then the after effect, and you're just kind of like, what? It just, all of it feels strange. Dignity leaves me and I begin to whimper like a dog. And he can't breathe. He is starting to like collapse in on himself. And the way that this is written, the pain, and Cassius leaves me bleeding and sniveling in the mud. Everything that I am goes away, and I am a slave to my body. I cry. I become a child again. I curl around the wound. Oh God, it is horrible. I don't understand the pain. It consumes me. I'm no man. I'm a child. Let me die faster. I sink in the cold, cold mud. I shiver and weep. I can't help it. My body does things. It betrays me. The metal went through my guts. My blood goes out. Guys, this was so rough. And I just felt like I was not ready for this level of retribution. There's a part of me that appreciates it, especially in light of the fact that Darrow did lie. He could have told the truth from the get-go. And I don't know how Cassius would have responded if he told him, like, in the big hall that they all met in. I really don't know. I feel like the Proctors had to have put him in the room with Julian specifically because they saw that Cassius and Darrow were getting along and they wanted to drive some sort of wedge. Like, that is my assumption. And if Augustus is like an enemy, and if this was all sort of plotted out, that could be true. And they had to know that Darrow wouldn't tell Cassius the truth. I don't know. The whole way that this has worked out. And it ends with, let me be a slave again, let me CEO, let me die. Just not this. And that's the end of the section. I'm just going to go ahead and just really, really quick read like the beginning of the page after. Part 4, Reaper. The elder women of Lyco say that when a man is bitten by a pit viper, all the poison must be drawn out of the bite, for the poison is wicked. When I was bitten, Uncle Nero left some on purpose. Chapter 34. There is agony and claustrophobia. I am sick and wounded. The pain is in dreams. It is in darkness. I feel it in the pit of my stomach. I wake up and scream into a gentle hand. I glimpse someone. Somebody's here. Oh boy. Oh boy. There's all kinds of description here, guys, but it doesn't say who it is. Ugh. Ugh. I really hope the next chapter would just be like, I wake up and the jackal's looking down at me. You know, like it would just tell me. Damn it. Fine. Alex is over here laughing at me. How dare you? How dare you all? All right. Well, I better end this. Alex says your commissioners are such scamps. Well, thank you all for listening. I hope you're enjoying the coverage. You sick fucks. Until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.